Let's go to this sound because this really struck me because this is a piece. It was a news segment that was a spontaneous news segment on a local station in Portage, Michigan, I believe is the name of the city or town. It is in Michigan though, and a news station was setting up a on the street segment. And while they were getting ready, a business owner started yelling something behind them. So the reporter turned around and I guess on the spot changed the segment to find out what was bothering this business owner. And it's really, listen to this sound because it was really interesting to me how the news reporter sort of framed it. I'm not attacking him because, it was, like I said, on the spot. He didn't know what he was gonna get himself into. He sort of promoted it as just like, if you're gonna come scream behind the news, remember, we'll always be asking questions. And it's like, okay, but I think what this guy was saying was way more important than just like news reporter ready to go on the spot.
I agree with you, Matt. I just want to make one quick point that I do think,
go ahead.
I know local news reporters, and it's a scary time to be a local news reporter out here too, because of, I think interactions like this could go much worse. But I agree with you about what you said about the validity of what this guy's trying to say here.
Right. So in no way I want to put down the reporter for not being able to, to put something forward more interesting about what's actually said by the business owner. But I just want people to focus on that part of it, though, when they're watching this clip. So let's play it.
On why the judge said no. Tavarius, is everything okay?
Okay. Our government leaders have abandoned me. Are you the owner? $4 trillion of stimulus money. They gave it to who? Special interest groups and campaign donors. I'm Dave Morse. I own the place. So what's going on? What's going on? You know what's going on. Tell me. You tell me. Hey, we got a government that has taken the stimulus money. They gave it to special campaign donors. They gave it to special interests. They abandoned me, and they have put me in a position where I have to fight back. Okay? So do you feel that this is the right thing to do? Absolutely. I feel everybody needs to stand up. Hey, listen, there was enough money to give every family in this country $20,000
That's right.
to go home for 2 months. They chose to give it to special interests and campaign donors, the Kennedy Space Center, and they abandoned us. So you could have given me money. I'd gladly walk away for 60 days and let this virus settle down. I'm not going to do it alone. Okay? Are you going to continue to violate the state's orders and stay open? State order. This isn't an order. This is a conspiracy. This is a tyranny. What do you want to tell other restaurant owners who... Wake up. Stand up. This is America. Be free. I got patriots coming out supporting me.
All right. So, I mean, from it's sort of unclear. So I don't want to, it's not quite clear, I should say, because he doesn't say exactly who he supports or whatever. But from the wording he uses, I think you could pretty much assume he's someone who at least leans right. But what he's saying is accurate, which means to me that people just understand that, if they received money to help sustain them throughout this pandemic, they would have been fine doing what their government told them to do in terms of state government and local government, I should add, because their federal government didn't really give them much of anything. And this is someone who's talking about, this whole shutdown being these shutdowns being a conspiracy, and how the patriots are coming to, support him for having his restaurant stay open. Again, this guy is saying if he was given money, in his scenario is the $25,000 he heard. I don't know if that's accurate. Have you heard that, Matt? That 20,000 could have been given to
I thought it was something like 13, but I think it's a lot of thousands. They could have just gave to people, right? And he's right that we gave it to corporations instead. I mean, he calls it special interest
and the stock market.
Yeah, that's where his ideology comes in, right? He thinks the Kennedy Space Center, and it's not like, right. I mean, a lot of businesses have got those funds too. A lot of businesses are doing really good right now by frankly being able to cut certain hours for people while getting giant stimulus funds from. It's just the luck of the draw with those funds. Yeah, and apparently his business didn't get it.
I mean, he's right. There was very little help for small businesses. Yes. And I don't know if it's even really fair to say that he maps neatly onto the right of the political spectrum, because the idea that you should give businesses and people money and let them stay home until the pandemic subsides, that is a left-wing position that is not being advocated by the Democrats or the Republicans right now.
Yep.
Right, but here's the interesting thing, though. I think this guy is mapped and to me, I forgot to mention it. Matt totally called it with the Kennedy Space Center line. That is totally a right-wing talking point to go after the Kennedy Space Center.
And most people's politics are pretty incoherent, and they have a mixture of right-wing and left-wing positions.
But
they don't have a mixture of left. Yeah, they don't have a mixture of left-wing and right-wing sources. Like this guy's figuring out the reality of it, even through the bullshit that's talking to him about this Kennedy Space Center the entire time.
Exactly, and that's what's so interesting about what he's saying. Here is a guy who's almost certainly someone on the right. I mean, maybe he's not super political, ideological. He might not be arguing
in terms
with this
of
guy
media
on
diet.
Twitter. Yeah, but in terms of media diet, he probably watches Fox News, maybe listens to Limbaugh. Your average older sort of Republican. But just on his own. Right, exactly. But just on his own, from his own experience running his business during the pandemic, he has landed on this. Honestly, it's socialism. And to him, that sounds completely fair, accurate, and the right thing to do, regardless of everything else he's heard.
In response to an accurate assessment of what the government's done, which is just completely right checks that. And he's I don't think that math is exactly right, but he's close enough to get the point across. And we could have, and that's because guess what, guys, this isn't hypothetical. Other countries have done this. They did this. And that's why, for instance, Thailand and wherever you want to go in Asia, really China's having pool parties. So
Yeah.
Right. I mean, when it comes down to it, the reason to play this clip is basically to say our elected leaders, the people who we want to take care of us, including especially the Democrats, because they're the ones who should be fighting for what this guy advocated for on his own doing. They're blowing the messaging. They're blowing what they should be fighting for. That's extremely popular, even to this guy who thinks the Kennedy Space Center is one of the problems here. And they're blowing it by, because these are people who have.
I think it's the Kennedy Center for the Arts, probably. Actually.
Yeah. But whatever he was talking about, this guy would become a Democratic voter, I assure you. And so would all of his buddies, if the Democrats got out there and got him his 10,000, 13,000, 15,000, whatever it actually is, to stay closed during the pandemic. That's how you win people. That's how you politic. That's how you play politics. And they're just failing so hard. And it's just frustrating to see, especially when watching this guy just make this point on his own after consuming all this right-wing bullshit.
Of course, there's a real opening there, and the left shouldn't abandon folks like this, although, small business owners historically have not always been the base for a socialist movement, but things are all scrambled right now. New alliances are being formed. We don't really know what's going to happen, and you shouldn't be leaving any votes on the table. Also, I really think the perception is, I'm sure there are some small facts that would refute this, but no help is coming. The Democrats are not getting it done for whatever reason. The Republicans don't want to get it done. So given the choice between a lockdown and no help and no lockdown and no help, people who need to make money will choose the latter, right? That's basic math.
And Pelosi's got to have a bit of a fire underneath her to fix her mistake, because that is why we're in this mess. She gave them everything they want with that bailout. Now McConnell can just sit and do whatever he wants. And I frankly don't even. Sure, McConnell's a big problem. I think Pelosi didn't want Trump to get reelected. And guess what? So you got what you wanted. And we're still dealing with this pandemic. Figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The interesting thing here too is, there was a few pieces that came out after the election when Donald Trump was able to become literally the second highest vote getter in American history, right behind Biden. How did this happen when Trump is so hated? And he gained more votes with blacks and Latinos than he did in 2016. How did this happen? I think it is highly underrated just how much everyone joked about it, but I really do think it made a huge difference. Everyone receiving those $1,200 checks with Donald Trump's name on it. I mean, people like getting money, and they think people who aren't as politically engaged think they got money from Donald Trump out of the kindness of his heart. He took out his checkbook and wrote everyone a check, and that's won people over, quite frankly.
And just broadly, when you've given over your economy to financiers who have people like over a barrel on loan repayments, giving people money is good policy.
Right. Yeah. Right. What's this IM from Brendan saying? Jeff Stein, the journalist, says only Josh Hawley has called for another round of $1,200 checks. Josh Hawley being a Republican.
But is that true? I don't think he's the only one.
That's what Jeff Stein said. This has been his beat since.
But this is the problem with the Democrats.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck is Pelosi doing?
She could at least be calling for things like that and then show very clearly to people how the Republicans are the ones blocking it.
Only Senate Republican he's seen so far call for a relief package to include 1,200. That's where, not to defend Pelosi, but we got to be accurate here. It's just, I mean,
that is his job too. And it's the sort of thing where it's like McConnell's not mad at him for saying that shit because it's, that's the propaganda game they're playing, which is what leftists and supposed leftists who always propagate the Hawley stuff. There's a few like prime contributors online never contextualize is that this is a game for them. He's not doing anything that's actually harming his standing within the Republican Party.
Right. I can't let Brendan spread misinformation on this show. Sorry, Brendan, got to shut you down. Alex Jones over here. You guys want to? Got really silent. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, Brendan.
My internet connection is unstable, so I'm just trying to stay
okay.